What's a good word, everyone? It's your boy DKB here. I just want to say thanks for all the support. The channel's been steadily growing, and the number you see below, you can drop a text, shoot a voicemail, any ideas, topics, collabs, etc. you guys want to see. I'll include them in future videos and live streams, and I'll catch you again. Be easy. What's a good word, Jets fans? It's your boy DKB here, and in my opinion, there's no two ways about it. The Jets need to find a way to add an insurance policy in that quarterback room, and I definitely believe it can come on day 3, and there's a potential prospect that could still be on the board at that point in time that an NFL insider in Jordan Schultz linked to the New York Jets, and it's quarterback Kyle McCord out of Syracuse. And to be honest, this is a guy that many of us should fall in love with. If you loved Jeremy Ruckert for everything that he embraced, embellishes when it comes to being a Jets fan and wanting to play for the organization. And we know that Aaron Glenn is going to have an affinity for people that kind of have a Jets fandom, if you will, from a player perspective. You're going to love Kyle McCord. Now, some of the comments specifically from Jordan, he said Kyle McCord could be in the mix for the Jets and the Steelers, of course, two somewhat quarterback-needy teams. He goes on to say, keep a close eye on Syracuse's Kyle McCord as well. The nation's most prolific passer last season. He bested all of Donovan McNabb's single-season score records, possesses prototypical NFL size at 6'3", 218 pounds, and is generally viewed in higher regard by teams than most draft analysts and certainly most fans. And it's always an intriguing thing because for the stat watchers, you can take a look at Kyle McCord and would assume that he'd be at worst a day 2 selection. Then for the film guys, I think still you look at him and you can make a case for him being kind of a round 2 option. And there's a little bit of good and bad, right? And we'll kind of take the silver lining approach with this, but he put up almost 600 pass attempts in 2024, which in certain cases is almost 2 seasons worth of play for certain quarterbacks, depending on scheme and run tendencies, etc. So you have a lot to be able to pull from when it comes to Kyle McCord and the tape. Even in 2023, he put up, I think it was just shy of about 400 pass attempts. So in one season, he's or it might have been around 350-ish, but I know he's not too far off from doubling his volume from 2023 to 2024. So I love the fact that there's a lot you can really dive into with him, on top of the fact that he is a New York Jets fan as well. So at that point, you really start looking at what traits does he bring to the table, how does he work into a offense that the New York Jets will want to build, and what's the development plan going to look like to get him from point A to point B pretty quickly. Some final comments from Jordan Schultz. The Jets and Pittsburgh Steelers, regardless of whether Aaron Rodgers signs, will be looking to draft a quarterback. McCord could be in the mix for either club. So when I look at him and, some of the stats that are going to be out there, right? You look at what he did in 2024. He was 22nd in completion percentage in FBS. He was 27th in pass efficiency, 1st in completions per game, 5th in passing touchdowns per game, 1st in passing yards, 1st in passing yards per game. He was 55th in pass yards per completion, 9th in points. Then he was 7th in points per game and 28th in yards per pass attempt. So there's a lot of different ways to break down those numbers, and that's not necessarily what I want to get into here, but I just want to provide some context into what it kind of meant when Jordan Schultz is saying a prolific passer, right? Breaking Donovan McNabb's records, leading FBS in passing yards, leading them in completions per game, being able to go out there and look like a aficionado when it comes to getting touchdowns on the board. And I think you give him a bit of a knock for not being as efficient in that. For example, I believe Shador and Cam Ward was able to do a little bit more with less. But also just taking a look at what Syracuse asked him to do, he really was the foundation of everything they want to do on offense. An extremely aggressive vertical style passing attack. And so when you look at the aggression, when you look at what he did with, vertical routes, being the number 1 quarterback, in fact, on vertical routes, and a lot of his numbers are going to be bulked up by the fact that it's from a volume standpoint as well, which isn't lost on me. But on day 3, to know that you can take a dart throw on somebody that realistically you can have a conversation about being an NFL starter is a huge win, right? Many times those conversations start and end around, is this guy an NFL caliber quarterback? And B, can this be a player that can develop into a long-term backup solution for us? So if long-term backup, at least over the course of a rookie deal, is the floor for Kyle McCord, and I don't know where the ceiling would be as a NFL quarterback for him. But if you just consider him a starting quarterback, right, and let's just throw average in there, so somewhere between the middle of the pack and top of the third, right? So you're talking teens to high 20s. That's a huge win for the Jets if you pull that out on day 3, and there's really not going to be any pressure with them at all either, which is something that would be a huge boost and probably a bit of a mental relief for him, because Kyle McCord has really had to be that dude since high school. I think he had 44 wins in high school. He had 11 or 12 wins with Ohio State. 11 or something wins with Syracuse. So this is a guy that's lost literally like less than I want to say 5 or 6 times in his lifetime. So he's going to fit a lot of those check marks as well, from a experience standpoint, from a winning mentality standpoint, being able to go out there and actually produce on the field, being the guy that an offense solely is dependent upon for production. And even in some of those tough games, I don't recall who it was. It might have been versus like UCLA or somebody, but he threw 5 picks. Then he goes on to complete 237 straight passes without any picks whatsoever. So he also has the foundational ability to learn quickly from his mistakes and not show a trend of bad habits there. So while there's a lot to still work on his game, I think you love the arm. You love what he can offer as a runner. There's some athletic traits there. He's not going to be a specific RPO style quarterback or anything, but this could be kind of your Jared Goff-esque person if you still want a familiar type of quarterback. If you're Tanner Engstrand, you can play around with Justin Fields while still having a bit of normality when it comes to drafting somebody like Kyle McCord. So I think he just fits relatively well into what the New York Jets will look to do while not having to scrap everything if, things don't break the right way and somehow he ends up as a starting quarterback in year 1 for the Jets. But let me know what you guys think. Again, love the background, love the story, love the production at Syracuse and Ohio State. I might actually end up doing one of the rare quarterback breakdowns for this particular guy, and we'll get into the weeds with him. But let me know what you guys' thoughts are. Kyle McCord, should he be a day 3 pick for the New York Jets? And I'll catch you guys again. Peace.